I thought I was helping an old homeless woman with spare change. One day, she stopped me and said a sentence that made me realize I was the one being helped. Welcome to Betty's Magical Stories, a place where ordinary moments turn into unforgettable lessons. Here, every story hides a little magic, a little truth, and something meant just for you. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let today's story remind you that even the smallest moments can change everything. I gave the old lady some change every day. It wasn't something I planned, and it certainly wasn't something I ever thought would turn into a story worth telling. It began the way many habits begin, quietly, without ceremony, on an ordinary morning that didn't seem important at the time. The old lady sat on the same corner every day, just outside the small grocery store near my apartment. The store was one of those places that tried to look cheerful with faded posters advertising discounts that had already expired. The automatic doors wheezed when they opened, and the smell of bread and detergent mixed in a way that was oddly comforting. She always sat just to the right of the entrance, close enough that people couldn't avoid seeing her, but far enough that she wasn't blocking the way. She was small, almost swallowed by the oversized coat she wore regardless of the season. In winter, it made sense. In summer, it looked like armor. Her hair was thin and white, usually tucked under a knitted hat that had seen better days. Her hands were what always caught my attention first. They were rough, deeply lined, and shook slightly when she reached out. She never stood. She never followed anyone. She just sat there, a small paper cup placed carefully on the ground in front of her, with a few coins already inside. The first time I gave her change, it was almost accidental. I had paid in cash and ended up with a handful of coins in my pocket. As I walked out, she looked up at me, not with desperation, not with expectation, but with a calm, tired expression that made it impossible to pretend she wasn't there. I dropped the coins into her cup, heard the soft clink as they landed, and she nodded. "Thank you," she said quietly. Her voice was steady, surprisingly clear. That was it. No blessing, no story, no plea, just 2 words. I walked away without thinking much about it. But the next day, she was there again. Same spot, same coat, same cup. This time, I was ready. I had already set aside some change before leaving my apartment. When I placed it in her cup, she looked up at me again. "Thank you," she said, just as before. That was how it started. A few coins every day, sometimes more if I had it, sometimes just a little. It became part of my routine, like grabbing a cart or checking my phone for messages. I didn't stop to analyze it. I didn't think of it as charity or kindness or anything noble. It was just something I did. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. I began to notice things about her that I hadn't at first. She always arrived early, before the store opened. I knew this because sometimes I would be there right when the doors unlocked, and she was already settled in her spot. She never asked anyone for money, not once. She never called out, never rattled her cup, never complained. If someone gave, she thanked them. If someone walked past, she didn't react. I also noticed that she left at the same time every day, just before sunset. No matter the weather, no matter how busy the street was, she gathered her cup, adjusted her coat, and walked away slowly, disappearing down the side street that led toward the older part of town. People reacted to her in different ways. Some pretended she didn't exist, eyes fixed straight ahead. Some glanced at her with quick discomfort, like acknowledging her would make them responsible for her. A few stopped to talk, usually tourists or people who looked like they had more time than places to be, but most just passed by. One day, a man in a suit muttered something under his breath as he walked past her. I didn't hear the words clearly, but the tone was sharp, dismissive. She didn't react at all. She just stared at the ground, hands folded neatly in her lap. That was the day I realized how much she had become part of my awareness. Her presence had woven itself into my daily life so quietly that I hadn't noticed until something disturbed it. As the months went on, we began to exchange more than just thank yous. It started small. "Cold today," I said one morning, mostly to myself. "Yes," she replied. "Winter is coming early this year." Another day, she commented on the rain. Another day, she told me the apples at the store were on sale and were good that week. Our conversations were never long, never personal, just observations, small talk, the kind of talk that exists only in passing. Still, I found myself wondering about her. Where did she go every evening? Did she have a place to sleep? Did she have family? Had she always been alone? I never asked. It didn't feel right. There was a dignity in the way she carried herself, and I didn't want to be the person who pried into her life just to satisfy curiosity. One afternoon, I saw her speaking to a young woman who looked upset. The woman was crying quietly, wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her jacket. The old lady reached out and placed her hand over the woman's, holding it gently. I couldn't hear what she said, but the woman nodded, took a deep breath, and when she walked away, she looked lighter, as if something heavy had been set down, even if only for a moment. That image stayed with me. There was something about the old lady that didn't fit the assumptions people made when they saw her sitting on the sidewalk. She wasn't invisible. She wasn't broken. She wasn't asking to be saved. She was simply there, enduring, observing, existing. Then one day, she wasn't. I walked out of the store with my usual coins ready in my hand, already looking toward her spot, and it was empty. No coat, no cup, no familiar shape hunched against the wall. At first, I assumed she was just late. Maybe she had gone to the restroom. Maybe the weather had delayed her. I waited a moment, scanning the street. Nothing. I felt an unexpected knot in my chest. It surprised me. I hadn't realized how much I relied on that small, daily exchange. I left, telling myself she would be there tomorrow. She wasn't. The next day, her spot was still empty. And the day after that. People walked by without noticing anything different. The street sounded the same. The store doors opened and closed as always. But something was missing. I asked the cashier if she had seen the old woman who usually sat outside. "Oh," the cashier said, pausing, "I haven't seen her in a few days." That was all she knew. I began to worry. Silently, privately, but deeply. I imagined all the possibilities I didn't want to think about. Illness, injury, worse. A full week passed before she returned. I saw her from across the street, and the relief was immediate and almost embarrassing. She was sitting in her usual spot, but something was different. She looked thinner, more tired. Her movements were slower. When I approached, she looked up and smiled. "I'm glad to see you," she said before I could speak. I hesitated. I noticed you weren't here." "Yes," she replied. "I had to take care of something." She didn't elaborate, and I didn't ask. I placed the change in her cup, and as I stood to leave, she did something she had never done before. She called out to me, "Wait." I turned back. She looked at me for a long moment, studying my face as if she were memorizing it. The noise of the street faded into the background, replaced by the sudden awareness that this moment mattered in a way I couldn't yet understand. "You give me something every day," she said. I nodded. "It's not much." "It's enough," she said. "But that's not why I wanted to stop you." She reached into the pocket of her coat and pulled out something small, wrapped carefully in a piece of cloth. Her hands trembled slightly as she unfolded it. Inside was a simple coin, old, worn smooth around the edges. "I want you to have this," she said. I shook my head instinctively. "I can't take that." "Yes, you can," she said gently. "Please." I looked at the coin. It didn't look valuable. It looked ordinary. But the way she held it, the care she took, made it feel significant. "What is it?" I asked. She smiled, a soft, knowing smile that hinted at a lifetime of stories. "It's a reminder." "A reminder of what?" She placed the coin in my hand and closed my fingers around it. "Of who you are when no one is watching," she said. I didn't know what to say. My throat felt tight. I nodded, thanked her, and walked away, the coin heavy in my pocket. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her words. The next morning, I brought more than just change. I brought a cup of coffee and a sandwich. When I handed them to her, she looked genuinely surprised. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I know," I replied, "but I wanted to." She accepted them with a quiet thank you. From that day on, our conversations grew longer, still not intrusive, still careful, but warmer. She told me little things, that she liked the mornings best, when the city felt slower, that she enjoyed watching people's faces as they passed by, imagining their lives, that she had once worked with her hands. One day, she told me her name. Another day, she told me why she had been gone. "I was at the hospital," she said simply. I felt a familiar knot of worry tighten in my chest. "Are you okay?" She nodded. "As okay as someone my age can be." She didn't say more, and I didn't push, but I started paying closer attention to the way she winced when she shifted her weight, to the way she sometimes paused to catch her breath. I started bringing her meals more often, sometimes gloves, sometimes a scarf. She never asked, she never complained, she always thanked me. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the buildings in gold, she stopped me again. "There's something I should tell you," she said. I sat down beside her, on the low concrete ledge. It was the first time I had done that. She looked straight ahead as she spoke. "I wasn't always here," she said. "I had a home, a family, a life that made sense." I listened. "Things happened," she continued. "Some my fault, some not. I lost people. I lost my place. But I didn't lose myself." She turned to me then, her eyes clear and steady. "Every day you gave me change, you reminded me that I still mattered, not because of the money, because you saw me." I felt my eyes burn. "And that day I stopped you," she said, her voice softening. "The reason I said what I did is because it was time you knew something." She reached out and tapped the coin in my pocket, as if she knew it was there. One day she stopped me and said, "You don't give to me because I'm poor. You give because you're kind. Never forget that." We sat in silence for a long time after that. A few weeks later, she was gone again. This time, she didn't come back. I learned from the store manager that an ambulance had come one morning, quietly, without spectacle, just another call in a long list of calls. They said she had passed peacefully.
"Her spot is empty now. People walk by without noticing. The street sounds the same. The doors open and close. Life moves on."
But every time I pass that corner, I feel the weight of a small won coin in my pocket, and I remember an old lady who sat outside a grocery store, who never asked for more than she was given, and who taught me that sometimes the smallest daily acts are the ones that change us the most. If this story touched your heart, you're in the right place. At Betty's Magical Stories, we share stories that stay with you long after they end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our growing family, because the next magical story might be exactly what you need.